Good people, it's another week. Let's have a little fun this week. I want to be on the bottom. It's another week, another episode, NFL Pregame Report. This is your boy, Cool McCain. And above me, on this side, we've got TJ. What's up, TJ?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Can't complain, man. Oh, and by the way, TJ, you guys are all right with me. You guys are definitely all right with me. On this side over here, we have our own specific Skip Bayless. We call him Said Bayless.
What's up? What's up?
All those things. What's going on, man? He goes by Said Green, but that's not what we call him.
Hey, shout out to the Florida Gators and the CU Buffs, man. My college teams won. It's going to be a good weekend.
Shout out to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, along with us, we had a PA beatdown of the Washington Commanders this week as they went 0-2 against Pennsylvania teams. And to the second place in the NFC East behind the rightful champs.
Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out to the ACC referees. Y'all make the NFL refs look great.
That, sir, may be the comment of the day, at least so far, for sure. Love it. But yeah, it's been a crazy weekend in sports, y'all. And now we're gonna top it off with NFL Sunday. So we had an NFL Thursday, we had an NFL Monday. We'll talk about NFL Thursday. We definitely gonna talk about that. But got a couple of other pieces of business to get to, right? As much as I would like to spend the entirety of the show talking about how great we looked, and then talking about how great the Steelers looked on Sunday against the Commanders, there's an actual show we have to do, and I don't think everybody wants to sit here and hear me talk about us and the Steelers beating the Commanders, even though I could talk about that for 2 hours easily. So we'll start off at this point, guys. And this is just a discussion. If anybody listening, you want to hop in the comments and give us your thoughts, feel free to. So the question was posed, and I thought it was a very good question. Does the NFL have a problem with development for young quarterbacks? And you'll have people that will point out, like CJ Stroud last year, right? Bo Nix this year, Jaden Daniels this year. But for those quote unquote semi-success stories, because we can't really judge a player off 1 year, right? Good or bad. We can't say, oh, he's great because he had a good year. Oh, he's terrible because he had one bad year. But for every one of those, there's so many guys that we could point out, right? I'll just point out some recent ones. Mac Jones, even everybody's golden boy down in Jacksonville don't look too good. Trevor Lawrence, right? Justin Fields got moved to another team, right? So many more options that we could talk about. So many guys that haven't really, didn't develop, didn't do well, didn't have a good career, already flushed out of the league, or could possibly be on the verge of that were forced to play right away. Then you have guys like a Pat Mahomes, even a Jalen Hurts, right? And other guys that were able to sit and not have to play right away and seem to have hit the ground running a little bit more. So again, the simple question is, does the NFL have a player development problem at the quarterback position? TJ, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't think they have a development problem. I think it's more of a timing issue. Back in the day, and by back in the day, like even as soon as 15, 20 years ago, if you drafted a quarterback, unless you were in a dire situation or an injury happened at the starting quarterback position, that rookie didn't see the field for at least half to 3/4 of the first season, ideally not until his second or maybe even third year.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's guys get drafted. Oh, he's day one ready. No, he's not. College is a totally different world than the NFL. College is basically, they know win right now because they only have guys for 2 to 3 years. And quite frankly, in college, if that, and quite frankly, in college, if you don't win for one season as a head coach, you might be out. So you're going to do whatever it takes. You're not going to have a pro style offense if that's not what's working. But to get back to the NFL, guys need more time to adjust, to acclimate. You're not Alabama going up against Citadel College every week. Now you're going every week. You're going up against the Clemsons, the LSUs, the Georgias, the Clemson. The Alabamas. That to me is the biggest difference. Is they don't give them enough time to relax and take it all in and learn.
So couldn't you quantify that as development though, right? Because you're not giving them the opportunity to learn and develop.
No.
Okay. Say what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing like you said. I mean, I think it's really like a scout problem. It's a GM problem. It's a coach problem. It's a win now mentality because you have to. I mean, hey, I was just watching this video this morning on the Bears that Justin sent over to me saying how the past two quarterbacks they've drafted has had two head coaches, two offensive coordinators in his first two seasons. You can't win with that. You can't. It doesn't matter who you are, but at the same time, I think it's just a win now mentality problem because it's the NFL. It's what have you done for me lately, right? They don't care. So you better draft that quarterback and get your team right, especially if you're new. But I mean, we've seen it throughout history. Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell, who everyone brings up. Tim Couch, Achilles Smith, Matt Leinart. There's so many quarterbacks that were drafted by teams that were desperate for quarterbacks. But now we're seeing 4, 5, 6 teams drafting a quarterback in the first, 8 picks of the draft. So, of course, we're like, dang, these better be really good quarterbacks for these teams, all these teams to make a reach. Whereas teams were like, in the past, teams were they didn't make that reach. They were like, okay, that's a 3rd round quarterback. I'm gonna wait until the 3rd round to get this quarterback, and I'm gonna build out my line. I'm gonna build out my linebackers. I'm gonna get something that I need for my team. But now it's like, hey, we gotta sell tickets. We gotta stay up with social media. We also gotta try to get wins, or we gotta make it look like we're trying to get wins. And the easiest way to do that is to say, yeah, this is our guy. We're going to ride with this guy. And now we have this guy. So we're going forward, right? And then they try to flip it and they say, well, look at Peyton Manning's first year where he threw like 500 interceptions and we rocked with him. So, I mean, while it does at the root of it, you do see it being a developmental problem. It doesn't even have a chance to get to that point because it's already screwed from the beginning because these teams are just like, oh, that's my guy. Like you haven't even, maybe guys that are diehard college football fans have heard these guys' names once or twice, but I feel like I'm not hearing names of quarterbacks until a month before the draft. And they're like, oh, this guy's been good. He comes out of, Manassas University and he threw for, 19,000 yards. Doesn't matter that he had 400 interceptions. This guy is very mobile. And we all just eat it up and and we're on these we're fans of these teams. We're like, yeah, we want a quarterback. We see the younger quarterbacks, prevailing, but like you said, the ones that are the ones that seem to be prevailing are the ones that had the chance to sit and wait. I mean, even Patty Mahomes got to wait until the end of his first season before he came in. And it wasn't a stress situation. It wasn't like I guess Alex Smith wasn't even hurt. They just put him in. And the Chiefs had a winning record.
That week.
Yeah, they were arresting him that week. So it wasn't even like a stress situation. And you're seeing that. I mean, of course, you're gonna see like your Jaden Daniels and your CJ Strouds that are in perfect situations. So it seems as if they're being developed, but they're just great. They're just really, really good. And that's why they should have went, 1 and 2. But yeah, for the most part, I think it's just these other teams just trying to keep up and feeling like, damn, like if you don't have that guy, you're going to be behind, and you may not win it all, but it gives you a chance, hopefully, right? Instead of actually looking for that guy or going all in for that guy. Yeah.
I'm going to say, yes, the NFL does have a development problem. And honestly, you guys have made 95% of the points for me. You just don't want to, I guess you want to word it differently for how you feel about it. But in my opinion, yes, they do have a problem. And the problem is you are overdrafting guys because everybody wants to have the next big quarterback and you can't win without a quarterback. Mm-hmm. But there's another part of this that's like they don't understand. If you take a guy that's not very good right now, but has potential, the big P word, and you throw him out there behind a bad line without enough talent, without the right coaching, he's not going to be a good player. And 9 times out of 10, the teams that are drafting at the top are drafting there because they suck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whoever's team it is, they suck. That's why they're drafting at the top, to get the best opportunity to get players to get better. So the problem is we have guys that are not prepared to go out and endure the rigors of a full NFL season. They haven't had any type of controversy that they had to overcome or anything. These guys are being thrown out from day one, named starters in some situations from when they're drafted. They haven't earned anything. Even 10 years ago, when we already were into this quarterback craze, you got drafted, but you had to beat out the veteran that was already on the team to get the job. You literally had to beat him out, not just walk in and you had the job because you were the top pick. You had to beat out the guy that was already there, that was brought in to challenge you. You brought in someone to challenge these guys and make these guys have to work and show you that they're the best option for your team. And if they couldn't show you they were the best option, they didn't start the season as your quarterback. Now, what would happen is throughout the season, a lot of these guys would get opportunities due to injuries, due to finally doing everything that the team expected of them to allow them to be the starter, but they weren't just given the role. A lot of entitlement happens throughout these kids' life, and if you're going to break it, the time to break it is when they get to the NFL. They don't break it, they continue it. So then these young men, I should say, by the time they get to the NFL, these young men are so used to being in situations where it's like, it's not my fault, right? Like, I did what I was supposed to do. The defense didn't do their job. He didn't catch the ball. The line didn't block. The running back didn't run. When a lot of it is you as who you are, you the player, have to develop. And there's not incentives built in either from a league-wide perspective to say, hey, from year 1 to year 2, if you increase your completion percentage by X, decrease your turnovers by X, increase your yards by X, these are bonuses that you can get. Things like that to make a young quarterback say, I get my salary, but if I can get better, I can get money on top of what I'm already getting. Incentives. What incentives do is it'll make a quarterback say, you know what, between year 1 and year 2, I'm going to get me a quarterback coach of my own. Because even though that might cost me $1 million, I can make $3 million in incentives. You have to understand the generation that we're working with. This is not the generation from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. This generation, instant gratification. So if you want them to work, you have to give them something that they tangibly can see and can get to quickly. Also, some of these guys we can look at as a fan and say, this guy's not ready to be an NFL quarterback. Bryce Young last year. Not that he shouldn't have been the number 1 overall pick if he was going to be developed. If it was going to be going to a team that would say, you know what, he's not ready yet, but in a year, maybe he might be the guy. Once he settles in, once he learns how to be a pro, once he sits on the side with a headset on, learns the plays, watches the speed of the game, things start to slow down for him, and he starts to identify what's happening in the game. Maybe he can be our guy in the future. But instead, we're going to throw him out there year 1, game 1, knowing that this team is not going to support him because it doesn't have the talent to. But we're still going to put him out there. We're not going to protect him. Then when he doesn't succeed, what do you do in year 2? You bench him and you put in Andy Dalton. Why didn't you just put in Andy Dalton year 1 and have him have to beat out Andy Dalton or whoever was the backup last year in order to become the starter? That way, once he got into the game, he was at least better prepared. And that's why I think the NFL as a whole, all the teams are failing these young guys. You have a couple that come in. Let's talk about CJ Stroud for a minute. Great rookie year, right? Great rookie year. Had him on my bench in fantasy. He was the only quarterback I had that didn't get hurt last year. All my other quarterbacks got hurt in the 2-quarterback league. But I could depend on CJ Stroud to have a good week every week. Not so much this year. Why? Because teams are starting to adjust to what he can and can't do and make him do the things he can't do.
They got that tape.
If he's going to take the next step, the team is going to have to help him develop what he doesn't do well so that those things don't continue to be a problem. I'll go to my own quarterback lastly, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts doesn't read the field as quick as some quarterbacks. But I'll tell you another quarterback who reads the field just as slow as him. His name is Patrick Mahomes. The difference is Mahomes is going to get rid of the ball somehow. He's not going to run 10 yards back and get sacked. He throws picks. He has incompletions. He throws the ball on the ground. He overthrows guys too. But the difference is how it's perceived.
Exactly. And then Pat Mahomes had Tyreek Hill. He had, a handful of wide receivers, Travis Kelce, that he could just throw it up to these guys. And he knew Tyreek Hill was going to be down. If Tyreek Hill was running a go route, he knew Tyreek Hill was going to go. You know what I mean? If Travis Kelce was breaking off his block 5 yards down the field and cutting up in the middle, he knew Travis Kelce was going to be where he needed to be. So Pat Mahomes was able to build that confidence in his passes and his routes and his throws and grow and develop, like you say, like how you're supposed to, because they gave him a plethora of weapons. They gave him the best weapons you could give a starting quarterback, and they weren't even in need of it. Like, they weren't even in need of Pat Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like, they were a great team where they were, but they gave him that, and he had that confidence. So now, even with a lack of those receivers, Pat Mahomes still has that confidence, knowing like his throws are going to be where they need to be. He knows his part is going to be right. It's just, hey, if these guys aren't there, then they aren't there. We'll get somebody else and bring them in. So he can read he knows he's going to do what he needs to do. That's why he can do his little trick plays. He can do his behind the back, between the legs to Travis Kelce, roll on the ground, whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Whereas with these other, like Jalen Hurts, they try to give him the weapons, right? You got AJ Brown, you got Devonta Smith. So you got two excellent receivers on each side of the ball, but that's about it. Dallas Goedert is decent. But it wasn't like a situation where it's just like, hey, just go out there and be cool, right? Especially once you lost your center. Once you lost Jason Kelce, it was like, oof. All right.
Cam Jurgens, we haven't all season, we haven't really heard like, oh man, the center position is lacking in Philadelphia. The point I'm making for the specific conversation though is Mahomes only makes about 2 reads. Then he'll do his little takeoff, or he'll start running to the line. Somebody will break open and he'll throw him the ball. He's not sitting back there in the pocket, standing in the pocket and reading from right to left in 2 to 3 seconds. He's not doing that either.
Yeah.
But because of the team that he's on, we know they get help from the refs. And also the players that he has, right? They didn't have a good year receiving last year. What did they do? The trade deadline, they trade for DeAndre Hopkins. He's not prime DeAndre Hopkins, but he's better than everything else that they have at this time. Wide receiver.
Exactly.
You still got Travis Kelce there, right? You got weapons out of the backfield. Kareem Hunt has been a revelation for them. Catching the ball in the backfield, running the ball, all the things. And they'll throw the ball to other guys. They'll make the plays when they're there, but they're not asked to be the focal point of the offense. Same type of development. The only difference is he got a year to sit to understand the speed of the game, right? He didn't have to get thrown in week 1. Same thing with Hurts. He didn't have to get thrown in week 1. They still have deficiencies, but they haven't been in the league 6, 7, 8 years yet. So there's time for them to still work on those deficiencies. And they have teams that they have coordinators, they have head coaches that are saying, let's do the things that they do well for the most part. And that's what the difference is between those young guys, I think, that come in that have the potential, that play well, and those that end up washing out or end up being a career backup. They're not getting the opportunities to have the offense tailored to them. Lamar Jackson's another example. You have to tailor an offense to what Lamar Jackson does. But if you do, you got an MVP that's going to have you perennially in the hunt to try to win a Super Bowl. Will he win one? Only time will tell. But you'll be in that hunt every year. You'll be talked about if Lamar Jackson is behind your center.
And they brought in the right OC that knew that. So
finally,
Harbaugh didn't have to worry about building it out. They had the OC that was on point.
Somebody that said, "This is what you do well. This is what we are going to do."
Hey, don't call Trevor Lawrence a bust.
Other things. We're going to mix in the other things that you don't do as well, little at a time, to help you work on them. So we can get tape of you doing them, so that we can coach you and say, "Hey, in practice, this is what we're going to work on." That's the part to me that's missing. What you do on game day, what you do on film, when they do get in. Because even if you're not playing and you're the second quarterback your first year or your first 6 games, there's going to be 1 or 2 games where you're either getting beat down or you're beating somebody down. You can throw that guy in and let him get some work. You get the tape on him, you start developing and working on what you see him do from the tape. I don't think the NFL has done anywhere near a good enough job of that particular piece as a whole, right?
do you think because I mean that's essentially what the 49ers did with Brock Purdy, right?
Is it?
Well, I mean holding him off, not throwing him in there.
Is it, or was it because they had another guy, and then once he got hurt, they had to put him in? Because Brock Purdy wasn't there to be their quarterback.
Well, they had Andy Dalton in, right?
And well, they had Trey Lawrence.
Yeah, because they had Trey Lance, and then he got hurt.
He got hurt.
Andy Dalton was in.
Then Andy Dalton got
hurt, or Sam Darnold was it? Yeah.
Well, Sam Darnold, whoever.
But then they put in Brock Purdy.
And then they put in Brock Purdy because they had no other choice. They drafted him to be their backup.
They did so, but they still wouldn't have put him in over Trey Lance, though.
Right, because they drafted him to be their backup, so they were never going to do that. Trey Lance never got to start there because of injury. Had he not got hurt, he would at least got the opportunity. I don't think he would have been any better.
Yeah, they probably would have still ran with him for a little longer. But I mean,
it would have wore him down.
It kind of felt like a Kirk Cousins situation, though. And I mean, but still, Brock Purdy still got to wait a little bit, And then I guess, they were like, okay, well, we'll rock with you the next season. But I mean, do you think teams will still look at, because he was drafted in the 6th round? The 7th round? Yeah, so teams see that though, and they're like, yeah, we can draft a quarterback. If they're gonna go the route of letting them wait, why pick them early, right?
Because, sir, let's talk about Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, whoever else you want to put as a top quarterback.
You saying these guys went 7th round?
You wouldn't get them in the 2nd round. You're not even get those guys in the 2nd round. But you have to understand it's a long-term commitment. You've got 5 years with a first-round quarterback. Mm-hmm. So if I let you sit a year, I still get 4 years to see what you can do. Right?
But I mean, if you know it's your guy, if you know this is your quarterback, if you know this is the guy that's going to help your team move forward, then you're going to go all in for him. I'm not talking about like the picks 1 and 2. I'm talking about like the people that struggle and draft early and picks 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 for these quarterbacks when they have no reason looking at them, right? You think they will fall back and be like, oh yeah, maybe we could take them in the 3rd round, maybe we can take them a little later.
So if you're let's say you're top 10 team and you want a quarterback, let's say you don't draft a quarterback and you get to 15 and there's a team that doesn't have a quarterback, you think they're going to say, oh, this quarterback sitting here who probably should have went earlier, but we're going to wait to the 3rd round to draft him? No,
that's not what I mean. But they're also not going to jump up into the 4th round and trade away 2 years of 1st-round picks to get this guy. That's what I mean. Unless they're 100% sure that it's their guy. Like there's a lot of teams that are just bringing in guys.
You can't be 100% sure for a guy that hasn't played a snap in the NFL.
I think you can as a scout. I think you can kind of know what direction you want to go with your team and what type of player you should. Right. These are professional scouts. These are professional coaches. This isn't like Pop
you get
Warner.
2 years. You get 2 years. A lot of times coaches get 2-3 years. These coaches.
Yeah.
So if you're going to bring in a guy in year 1 and that's the guy for that coaching staff, then you fire the coaching staff after 2 years. Guess what? You just reset that quarterback.
Yep. And that's what's been happening.
You can't expect him to continue on and be better when he has to have a whole new coaching staff. But if you take the first couple of years and you work on his fundamentals, reading the field, making the right throws, planting your feet, throwing correctly, all the fundamental things, if you work on all that year 1 so that he can go and play to the best of his ability in whatever system you have, that's how you help a quarterback in the NFL. What happens with these guys is what you're saying is, oh, you get drafted to this team because it's the perfect situation. It may not be the perfect situation.
That's not what I'm saying.
After 1 year, it may not be the guy.
I'm saying let me
rephrase it.
A team should only go after a quarterback if they know that quarterback works for their system.
But that system doesn't.
It's the NFL. You shouldn't be training players. You also shouldn't be training quarterbacks in footwork. That's the thing. This is the NFL. This is professional football because this is professional. These guys are getting paid
players. So do you not train wide receivers to run routes? Do you take a wide receiver to come in the league? You just go do whatever you do. You're not going to teach you how to run routes. No, you don't.
You run a business. You're going to hire a CEO and then send them to training. No.
Yes, that's what you do.
Has this training before
anybody that starts your company has to learn the culture of your company and go to training. When you get a job, do you get a job?
No, walk out and start doing it. Do you go to training? This is not a job.
Even the CEO has to get trained.
No, you're drafting a guy for 10 to 12 years. You're not drafting a guy for 1 to 2 years. No matter who the coaching system is, they shouldn't have to train him. They shouldn't have to develop them.
That's asinine. You always have to develop young players.
No, you shouldn't. Not at this
Name
level.
A quarterback that hasn't
Not
been
at
developed.
this level. This is the
Name
highest
a quarterback
level.
that
That's the
hasn't had
reason
to be
of
developed.
no. What's the reason of college?
Name one.
What's the
Name
point of
one that
college?
hasn't had to be developed. Name one. Name a quarterback that hasn't had to be developed. Sid, name one.
It doesn't. It's not a matter. It doesn't
You
have
can't
to be
name one
developed.
because there isn't one.
What do you mean there isn't one? I feel like
Name
every
a
great
quarterback
quarterback
in the
knew
NFL
what
that
they
came in
needed
the
to
league that didn't
fix,
have
and
to
they
be
fixed
developed.
it. Yeah, there are a couple things they need to fix, but you shouldn't have to fix the footwork. You shouldn't have to break down a
You don't have to
quarterback's
fix it
throw.
on everybody. Those are examples of things that may need to be fixed.
Then they
It
shouldn't be
doesn't have to be the
drafted.
same
Then
for
they shouldn't have
everybody.
been drafted. Then they shouldn't have been drafted until later in the draft or Mr. Irrelevant. That's what I'm saying. That's why the 49ers did it right with Brock Purdy as a backup. That's what I'm saying.
In my opinion.
No, you're not going to spend millions of dollars and be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to turn around and spend another couple $100,000 to make sure you get right. Let's make sure you get right. And go ahead, take your time and do it.
That's what you're doing.
If I'm drafting you in the first round, no.
You're taking a risk.
If you're drafted in the first round, you're drafted to play early. If they're not going to play early, don't draft them that early.
If you're not ready. You don't put a guy out that hasn't developed to the point where he's ready.
Exactly. So don't draft them that early if they're not that developed.
Well, he's not going to be there if you don't draft them early.
Then that's the risk you have to take. Then maybe you have to sit back and analyze what you're doing to scout these players. Analyze how you're sitting there analyzing these players. Maybe you should look at the person, your player personnel, the person that's sitting there watching these college games. Don't sit and watch the last 2 college games and say, okay, that's my quarterback. Don't watch their season before they get drafted and say, okay, that's my quarterback. Watch their entire career and know where you're coming from. And then you don't draft the Trey Lances in the first round. Then you don't draft whoever else in the first round that you're going to have to sit and develop and wait on. Yes, I'm all for a player sitting and watching because they do have to process the speed of the game. It is a different speed, but you shouldn't have to be sitting there focusing on their throwing, shortening their throwing speed. You don't have to sit there and focus. That's what they need to do. That's what the quarterback should be doing on their own. That's their work ethic, right? Right? Like that's
I disagree. I completely disagree with everything you just said. You just said things out of 2 sides of your mouth. One side of your mouth.
Hey, you're more like Skip Bayless than me. You go.
You definitely Skip Bayless today. On one side of your mouth, you're saying, "Oh, the player should have to." I'm all for a player sitting. On the other side, oh, if you draft him, you shouldn't have to sit. You shouldn't have to help him.
Yeah, I'm all for players sitting when you draft them later where they should be drafted.
Can I talk now? I let you talk. Can I talk now?
Go for it.
Thank you. So what I said was, those are examples of things that you might have to work on. It doesn't mean you have to work on all of them. But if a player comes in and he is lacking in one of those key pieces, your job is to help him develop that.
Very true.
If you don't want to do that, then you should not be a trainer. You should not be a player personnel person. You should not work in the NFL. You can't go out and draft a guy and 100% say this guy is going to be great in the NFL. You can take what he's done and you can project, because you've never seen him play a step against NFL caliber talent on an entire team. The Carolina Panthers defense will go out and demolish any college football team. Your defense will go out and demolish any. And I'm not knocking anybody's defense. I'm just pointing out different defenses that will go out and demolish.
That's a top 5 defense we got,
the
sir.
Giants
They'll demolish any NFL team
and demolish any team in the college football. So this is a total team of great players that you're getting at the NFL level. These kids did not face that in college, so all you can do is project off what they've done. If you want to try to throw that to, then don't scout this person and don't say that's my quarterback.
No, I never said that. That's where you're wrong. I never said don't scout or don't draft. I said do not reach in the first round for these players. This is what I said, Cole. I said do not draft these players
because they won't be there.
No,
they won't be there.
That's why teams are drafting quarterbacks and they're busting out, because they have that scarcity mentality. They will not be there. Then scout better. You know what? There's how many teams are in just Division 1A in the college football?
All right.
What is it, like 100 teams?
I got a question for you.
100 teams? How many teams are in Division 1, 2A?
I got a question for you.
Yes.
I got a question for you, because that's irrelevant. I have a question for you about the actual topic, not 10 tangents. I have a question for you. Name me how many quarterbacks right now are starting in the NFL that were picked 3rd round and after. We know Brock Purdy. Name me any other ones that you know.
Russell Wilson.
Any other ones that you know?
When was Pat Mahomes drafted?
I think he was drafted in the 4th
round.
Second round.
Second round. So he's not one of them. So we've got 2 quarterbacks out of 32 teams that were drafted after the 3rd round.
Oh, let's see.
I mean, technically,
I mean, just because I can't
guess.
name it off the top of my head doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Okay, but
Cool. So give me a second to pull up the fucking information.
Go do your research while we talk.
Was Gardner Minshew counts, right?
He'll be
starting, right?
Technically starting today, I guess.
He's starting today, so he would count. He's a starting quarterback. The
Dak
point
Prescott,
that I'm making is
Kirk Cousins.
So
what is that? 1, 2,
that's 4.
3, 4.
So that's 4. So we've got 4 out of 32 teams. Now you go ahead and keep looking.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making is if a guy has all the talent and you believe he's a guy that you can develop into a top tier quarterback, that's why you go and draft him early. If you don't think you can develop him a top tier quarterback, you're not going to draft him early. But you're projecting all the time. When Patrick Mahomes came out of college, people didn't expect him to be the guy he is right now. If they did, he would have been the 1st overall pick.
I think they did. That's why they traded away Alex Smith. But I mean, that's just how I look. You're right. You're right.
Kansas City passed on him. Every team, because he was not drafted in the 1st round. So
exactly.
Every team had an opportunity to draft him and didn't. So
and then Kansas City saw it and they were like, okay, cool.
But if they thought that highly of him, why wouldn't they draft him in the 1st round?
Because they knew they didn't need to, because they knew every other team was focused in on those other guys. Who was it? Paxton Lynch drafted in the 1st round. Who were the other drafts? I'll have to pull it up, but I guarantee you the guys ahead of Patty Mahomes, there's not many of them that are still starting in the NFL.
That's the point.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't feel that you don't need to draft that quarterback in the 1st round, then don't reach and use all of those 1st round resources to draft the quarterback. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
He's not going to be there for you.
If you have to, I'm saying if you feel like you have to fix his footwork or his throwing arc or whatever it may be, something that should be super simple, then you probably shouldn't draft this quarterback in the 1st round.
Why would it be super simple, Seb?
If they're a quarterback, you're drafting a quarterback for their intangibles, right?
You can throw the ball and take longer than in the NFL because you have more time.
Very true, very true. But that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying that's not. I'm not saying that's not true. I'm not saying they're NFL ready quarterbacks. Cool. I'm saying if you feel you need to spend more resources, maybe on this player, then maybe not reach for them. Maybe you can spend in other, maybe there's other areas on your team that you can build up with those earlier picks instead of reaching for these quarterbacks. And now you force these quarterbacks in super early when they're not ready. And then you get rid of these quarterbacks super early. They go and develop on their own, and they go to 2 or 3 other teams. And then all of a sudden they're looking great. And now it's like, oh, we see why he should have been a 1st round pick, when realistically he should have been a 6th round pick, and he should have sat for 2 years, and he should be coming out showing what he could do. But that's what I was saying. I wasn't saying anything otherwise. I think we've been saying the same thing this whole time. I think you just got it mixed up because you think I'm saying no, these 1st round picks are bust. That's not what I'm saying.
We haven't been saying, I didn't say anything about you saying bust. That was my example. My point is, you got these guys in the early part of the draft. You know that they have work. Put in the work. I don't care about, you shouldn't draft them early.
You can't do that, though. When you draft a 1st round quarterback.
You think this guy can be your guy. Quarterback is the most important position on the team. You draft the guy and you fix him. If you don't think teams should take the time to fix him, then I see why you are not working in the NFL.
I never said they shouldn't take the time to fix them. I said maybe they shouldn't draft them so early and force them out there so early. Meaning, obviously, if they're not forcing them out there, if they're not going out there early, they're not just sitting on the bench just watching, right? I'm pretty sure they're developing the player while they're sitting if they don't force them out there so early. But I guess what I'm saying is maybe a little bit wrong. You're right. So who are the top 10 MVPs? Who are your MVPs so far this season?
I have a different opinion. And the last thought I have, TJ, first, I'll let you go if you have any other thoughts because you haven't said too much. You have any other thoughts on this, sir? We're not just going to go on because it might not like what
I'm not
going. You have any thoughts?
Hey, I'm a former football coach, so I'm just keeping my thoughts to myself.
That's fair.
There's a reason why they call it coaching them up. That's all I'm going to say.
Exactly. You don't expect a guy to come in week 1, year 1, or even year 2 and be his best version. He's growing and learning and developing throughout his career. If you're not going to spend the time to grow, learn, and develop quarterbacks, then you shouldn't be part of NFL organizations.
Very true. Which is why so many coaches
if you understand that,
which is That's why so many people get fired and washed out, because they're not developing these players, man.
And if you understand that even if you draft the guy number 1 overall, there may be things that you need to work on with that guy.
Oh, guys, that's not what I'm saying, Cole. Listen, that's not what I'm saying. That they're going to be perfect. You're totally wrong. That's obviously not what I'm saying, buddy. That's not what I'm saying. But keep that in your mind. What I'm saying is, if you know you're going to have to put in more time with the player, maybe not draft them so early where you're forced to play them so early. Maybe not do that. But you're right. You're right. Maybe somebody else will jump on it, and then let it be somebody else's grenade.
To play a player. That's a decision that the organization makes.
Just grab the player because you're afraid someone else may grab them, because you need a quarterback. So you better grab one of the 10 irrelevant quarterbacks out there early before the next team grabs this irrelevant quarterback, and they're off your team and you're fired halfway through the season. You're right.
Never forced to play a player.
If
a player's not ready, you don't play him. If they're ready, you play them. That's how sports go.
I don't know. I feel like the first round pick doesn't look ready to play, but they're being forced to play him again, and they're going to fire again, like they did with their last first round pick. Again, that wasn't ready. And then their first round pick before that, again, that wasn't ready. But you're right.
Charlotte.
You're right. They have time. They have time to develop them. The coaches have the time. You're right. They don't get fired for underperformance. Not at all.
But they also can get fired if they throw a guy out there that's not ready and he doesn't look good. That doesn't happen, right? It only happens one way. Come on, man.
Agree to agree, because I'm pretty sure we're saying the same thing.
We're definitely not. But we'll move on to our top 10 MVP picks, and we'll let Sid give us the list of, his list.
Well, I got to change my list because they're not all first round picks. So I don't know. I got to change my list up. You can go first.
Well, hurry up. No, we want you.
No, I got to get first round picks. You do your list.
We didn't say you had to be first round picks. You already came up with your list. Give it to us.
They can't be MVPs. They're not first round picks. So let me do my list again with players that are ready to go.
So are you going to do the list or not?
I'm not. I'm going to come back to it.
We're not going to come back to you. We got to go. You either do it now or we'll just.
Oh, now we have to go. Okay. Before we had the time. Now we don't have the time.
You're wasting it now. Can you give us your list?
I don't have my list. Go for it.
TJ, what's your list?
I don't have a full 10, but a couple names that just popped out to me, which really that's what it's all about. It's all about eye appeal, and that's Jared Goff. You got to give him his due. Cast away to Detroit a few years ago, but he's been solid the past couple of years, and this year he's doing a lot of good down there, getting wins and looking good on the stat sheet. Has the city behind him. He's got to be up there. Not having the best season numbers wise statistically, but everyone's always going to say Patrick Mahomes because he is the face of the league. So whether it's right or wrong, he's going to be thrown in there. Josh Allen, I think should also be in consideration in terms of quarterbacks, just because of what he's doing in Buffalo. He's having a good season, and they got rid of Diggs. He's still putting up good numbers, still getting wins together. And then you got to remember Derrick Henry. The guy, new team, new scheme. The first week or two, it looked a little bumpy. Looked like they didn't quite know how to work with him and Jackson together in the backfield, but the guy's been lighting it up. I just saw a stat earlier because they're going up against the Steelers that he has scored a touchdown, at least one in every single game this season. Has to be, quarterback dominated decision, but at running back, he's got to be the number one choice. Other than that, it's kind of up for grabs. A lot of big names here and there, but those are my top, 3 or 4 guys that I think have a real shot at it. At the end of the season.
You have your list set.
I'll give you my top 3. I got Justin Herbert. Let me see. Joe Burrow and Brock Purdy. Had Jared Goff, but that 5-pick game kind of was scary.
All right, so
even though he won,
not in order, but I'll give you my list: Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Derrick Henry. I do agree, Jared Goff. Jaden Daniels has to be in that conversation. Saquon Barkley would be in that conversation. Mahomes is in that conversation. Hurts is in that conversation. On the defensive side of the ball, it's kind of hard, right? Because it's hard to really give the award to a defensive player. Not saying that there aren't any that are worthy, but it's kind of tricky to give it to a defensive player. But those are some of the guys that I looked at and thought, yeah, maybe not a full 10. Maybe 10 was a little bit of a reach, but at least give people the opportunity to get as many out as they wanted. But I feel like a lot of guys have the possibility halfway through the season of being the MVP. Of course, I'm sure you would agree. Both of you guys would agree. One of the big things about it is how well you do the remainder of the season, right? We look at these guys halfway through and you say, okay, these are guys that are in that conversation. And then what will they do the rest of the season? I would throw Joe Burrow in that conversation as well. And I think that's about 9 or 10 for me. But it's exciting to see who we think now. Then we turn around in 7, 8 more weeks and see who we think then. And I'm sure
Well, I
there
feel
will
like
be a
it's
different group of
I feel
people.
like it's kind of been the same group consistently throughout, especially at the top, right?
Well, Barkley hasn't been in the MVP conversation in Lord knows how long. And Hurts was,
Yeah, I
well, he
guess
was
he
in it for
emerged.
about half a year last year.
And at the beginning of the
Um,
season, Patrick Mahomes would have been a shoe-in, but now he's like maybe barely in the top 10.
Yeah.
right. He would definitely be in the lower part of the top 10 now just because they haven't performed well. They win games because, they're NFL's favorite, but they haven't done too much actually on the field.
So
Um,
with Jaden Daniels being in that conversation, are we saying he's a runaway for Rookie of the Year?
Offensive rookie of the year, he would be the guy I would be looking at right now. But again, we're halfway through the season. Defensive rookie of the year, I think, is maybe two people. And I'm going to, of course, go with my guy, Mr. Lockdown himself. I will not say Quintanamo Bay ever again, but Quinyon Mitchell would be my pick for defensive rookie of the year.
Beanie
Hate the
Bishop.
nickname, love the player. All right, let's do a quick thing here, guys. We didn't have a lot of topics today, so we had some time. We could really kind of dig into it, right? Because sometimes you just want to have a couple of topics and really be able to get into it. Other one, most surprising and most disappointing team for you for the first half of the season. Sid, are you prepared to go first for this one, or do you need a little more time to look into it?
No, I'll go. Most surprising team, I guess you would have to say, would be Washington, right? I mean, well, not right, but in my opinion,
Okay.
I would say Washington. Arizona kind of is around there. They're hovering around. They seem to be clicking in. Seems to be Kyler Murray is taking a little bit of break away from his game to show us big people what he could do, right? So I'd have to put, Washington and Arizona up there as my most surprising team so far. Well, I don't know. Washington only because I didn't expect them to be this good this fast, right?
Okay.
I think we expected Washington to compete. They were competing, and we knew they were a quarterback away, and there are already rumblings that Jaden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams and this and that, but Chicago was going to Chicago. And it worked out really, really well for them, and it's seeming like it is in the right direction. Now they have that hope, and once a team has hope, they can do some excellent things. So we'll see. I feel like they had that hope with RG3 as well too. So hopefully that hope continues. But that's why I have Washington up there, because it did click so fast, so well, and it's looking so great. Arizona, just because it's weird when you feel like a team is maybe like a wide receiver away from offense, especially when they've had amazing wide receivers go through that organization and it hasn't really carried them where they needed to be. But it's seeming to look like it's looking like it's really clicking over there. And it's not even Marvin Harrison Jr. It's like the other receivers. We're seeing Trey McBride go off. We're seeing I forget his name, the other receiver on the other side. But anyway, we're seeing the other receivers go off. We're seeing every one of their running backs kind of getting in, and from fantasy wise, getting in double digits. And they're leading their division right now. Of course, there were injuries across the board from those teams below them, and we're starting to see San Francisco wake up. But right now, they're still leading their division, and they have a punter's chance to make the playoffs as long as they keep it going. So I didn't expect to see them there. Now, my disappointments on the other side, man, I was hoping to see I was really hoping to see the Broncos beat the Chiefs last week. So that was my disappointment of the season, but they're not my disappointing team. I'd say the Jets, man. The Jets. We gave Aaron Rodgers what he wanted. He's had everything he's wanted since he got over to New York, and it just hasn't been working for him. I think he has even a worse record than Zach Wilson had in his tenure as a starting quarterback at this point in time. So I'll put the Jets up there. They should have been taking advantage of kind of a injury laden, player missing division, and they really didn't do anything. They just went backwards. So I put the Jets as my disappointment.
All right, I'm gonna go with my surprise team. I'm gonna go with your Denver Broncos. I did not expect them to be good at all. I expected them to be a bottom team, and they have outperformed that. So that has been my surprise team as far as performance for the first part of the season. My disappointing team, I like to take shots when I can. I'm going to go to Dallas Cowboys. Are y'all still them boys? 3-6. TJ, what you got?
My surprise pick would be the Minnesota Vikings. Not just because of going into the season, with getting rid of Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, things like that, but also their replacement for him, JJ McCarthy, got hurt. Sam Darnold comes in, and everyone's kind of laughing and low-key, thinking maybe 3 to 5 wins this season's the ceiling for him. Here they are at, 7 wins already, second place in the division, only behind the Detroit Lions, looking like a solid playoff team. And my disappointment would also be the Dallas Cowboys, just because, man, what is going on? It is literally a circus over there right now. Dak's out for the season. You got headlines coming out of Dallas. They're talking about sunlight in the stadium right now. Sunlight in the stadium. Come on.
CD crying about sunlight in the stadium.
Yeah, and you got Jerry Jones going off on a poor reporter because they asked him to close the blinds. And I don't know. That's a circus down there. But much to my delight too as a Steelers fan, because I hate the Cowboys. But,
I'm with you on that, sir. I'm with you on that. So, I'm going to be exiting stage right as I have something I have to do. But these two gentlemen will be finishing things up for you. They'll be talking a Thursday night football game, and then they'll be giving you their picks for all the other games, and then any other thoughts that they have. I just want to quickly say Thursday night football, beat them Commanders. Looked really rocky in the first half, but we were able to kind of get into it in the second half, execute better, run the ball. We tailored more to the strengths of our quarterback, who's still developing, but can do some things very well, and they use those things better in the second half. Still improvement needed. He's been in the league long enough where a part of that does go to him as well. But I think when teams are the best, it's when you are saying, I am going to take everything that they do, and I am going to use those things while still having them do some of the things they don't do so they can get more comfortable with it. That's the crux to football as a whole to me. TJ, you're a coach, so you may be able to speak to that a little bit better than me. Never coached football, I coached basketball. But that's the thing there. Happy that the Steelers softened them up for us. I'll take it. They tenderized the meat, and we just put some seasoning on and put it on the grill. So PA teams working together, baby. But gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. Key is in the building now. So in with y'all to chop it up and finish up the show.
I hate both y'all teams. That's all I'm gonna say.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
Hey,
don't be mad.
That Thursday night game, I will give my props to the Eagles. From what I saw, it felt like a team that really studied their tape. They knew what they were hoping to stop Jaden Daniels from doing, and they were able to execute, especially in that second half, man. When Saquon, beast mode, he just took that offense on his back and carried y'all to victory. But the defense, man, I saw that defense. They attacked when they should have attacked. They were right where they needed to be. They were not letting Jaden Daniels gash them up and down the field with his runs.
Well, Welcome to Guantanamo Bay, baby.
And
Quinton
well,
Mitchell,
and then on the Washington side
defensive
too,
rookie of the
though.
year.
On the Washington side too, I just felt like Jaden Daniels is hurt, man. Like he needs to take some time off and rest, and they can't. They can't. They got to keep their foot in the gas pedal, keep it going. Unfortunately, and it's the NFL, man. Welcome to the NFL, right? You can't stop when you're tired. You see what happened to Anthony Richardson. You gotta go if you say you're tired. So I feel like we're seeing a hurt Jaden Daniels. But I mean, we're also seeing a Washington team that may be lacking in weapons. You know what I mean? Maybe they had their rookie quarterback overshadowing a lot of their like ineptitudes, their inefficiencies on offense. I mean, as far as like outside, their running stable is well, their running backs are great. They have really, really great running backs who really, really benefit from an excellent Jaden Daniels. But their wide receiver room, man, I mean, outside of Scary Terry, it's like, where's everyone at? Who else do they have? Like, so I think I would like to see them get him more help. It would have been nice to see Devontae go down there, Devontae Adams down there on the other side of Scary Terry. That would have been a combo. But we just saw, the Eagles team that was really determined and focused to do what they needed to do. They knew the script, they knew what they had to do, and they went out there and they executed it to the fullest on defense for sure. And then Washington saw maybe they have a little bit more work to do. If they're preparing for the playoffs, maybe there's a couple more things they need to like sit down and get tight and get right. Maybe let Jaden Daniels rest a week, right? Maybe let him take a week off. So I don't know if they had their bye, if they have a bye coming up.
I mean, they got no, I think they
think
they had their bye already. I think.
Yeah, I feel like they did. Yeah, and it's just all, it's all divisional games and big games from here on out. So we'll see how they do, man. But it looks like the Eagles team is starting to figure out they need to run. They need to focus on their running backs. That was where they lacked in the past couple years and what held them back. I felt like, in my opinion, but it was a good game.
So where did we leave off? Did y'all do the picks and already for the week or?
No, we were talking about the Thursday night game.
Okay.
Yeah, TJ.
I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from Thursday football is, in my personal opinion, I agreed with the commentators. Guys look tired. They look kind of beat up at times, especially in the first quarter. Guys were still looking stiff, like their bodies weren't necessarily ready to, play for a whole another 60 minutes again, if just a few days apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think maybe. The NFL should really look into, maybe instead of having Thursday night games, maybe do like Friday, or maybe have it on Saturday like they do closer to the holiday season like we're coming up to. That way it would give guys still essentially the whole week to do it. It would also be easier for the schedule makers as well, because even if a team plays on Monday night to Saturday, it's still better than Sunday to Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. But, it was a good game, slow in the first half, really started to pick up scoring-wise and offensively in the second half. Washington Commanders, they're a good team, but they're definitely not loving the state of Pennsylvania right now.
I'm not going to hold you. My anxiety and my blood pressure was up. Because I'm just like, oh, no, what are we doing? And, Jalen just didn't look right in that first half to me. But once, we started the running game, and shout out to the defense because they didn't let up. Because things could have been left. Jake Elliott missing points on the board. 2 field goals and an extra point. That's 7 points right there. So, but nothing. Granted, nothing happened like a Debo Samuel situation. Nobody on the sideline trying to beat up Jake Elliott. But It overall worked. I mean, I know we're winning, but am I still a big fan of Sirianni? I'm not going to go say, oh, yeah, he's the best. No, I'm still in that. As long as he's staying out of the play calling, we okay. We're good. But we got to keep rolling. We got the who we got next? The Rams. So, I mean, you can't take no team for granted. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp is still elite. Kyron Williams still can run. Stafford still can hurt you. We just gotta keep playing proper football.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, because y'all kind of catching me in off guard. I'm still waiting for my ride, so anytime I gotta go. But hold on, let me switch to my laptop real quick, but so I can see this list.
Yeah, I think when next it says just a highlight game. So on the first one, the Ravens and the Steelers. Steelers suck, so hopefully they lose.
Oh,
Right.
crazy part is I got them winning today.
I know Lamar hasn't. He's beat him. Has he beat him once? I don't think
They haven't played each other yet.
Yeah, he hasn't played them. No,
Steelers haven't played a
career.
single. Oh, in his career?
In his career, I don't think Lamar Jackson has beat the Steelers.
I think like once.
Once, maybe. Let's see. But yeah. I saw something about that the other day. And then when they did beat him, he wasn't playing. But yeah, I think
both games last year he was hurt for the games or whatever, held out.
Mm-hmm. Today's the day, though. Today's the day. He has two wins and 4 losses, but the 2 wins came earlier in his career, so not recently. Has he beat him? But he also hasn't had King Henry on his side those other times either. Man, the Steelers are looking like a solid team right now with Captain Russ for sure. I guess Mike Tomlin knew what he was talking about, right? We'll see, but
we're gonna see today, because
yeah, exactly. We'll see today against a good defense. O-line. What was that?
Scrambling with a busted O-line would have been a nice option.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think today is the day that Lamar, he has King on the side. I think they get the win. I got the Ravens.
I mean, they beat the Broncos. All right.
I mean, I just think that the Ravens, the Pittsburgh has the Ravens numbers. Now today will be the day that Lamar overcomes this. But until then, I'm still taking the Steelers. You can't knock the Steelers defense. Love TJ Watt. Love those guys back there. Cam Hayward. I just love, the Steelers always had a good. One thing about the Steelers, they offensively, let's not say I'm comparing y'all to the Bears, but just saying y'all not known for offense. It's more your defense that y'all known for. So it's just like, the defense is elite. Yes, y'all got Mikey Williams, which was a good upgrade to help out George Pickens. You still got Najee Harris. Is Warren's not playing today, right, Jalen?
No, I don't believe so.
So y'all gonna have to run the ball with Najee Harris. If y'all want to beat this Baltimore team, try to contain Derrick Henry. That's all I can say. Contain Derrick Henry. Keep Lamar. Lamar's gonna get his yards regardless because he's mobile. But if y'all can contain Derrick Henry for the most part, make Lamar throw, might be a problem for Lamar. But like I said, I'm still taking the Steelers here in this game.
Well, I've been salty at times this season. I did have picked the Jets over the Steelers out of spite because of Mike Tomlin, but there's no amount of spite. I can never pick the Baltimore Ravens, especially over the Steelers. It's going to be definitely a tough game. They always are against Baltimore. I definitely remembered, speaking of blood pressure medicine, I definitely took mine this morning. I know that. But the thing that I think is going to be the difference is, number one, I really hope the Steelers install that Justin Fields supposed package that they have, because we're going to need something, because Russell Wilson cannot run, cannot scramble. The offensive line for the Steelers is busted up. Not only were they suspect healthy, you got injuries on the line now too. Baltimore pass defense is not the best this season. I believe they're the worst, but their front seven is still dangerous. They can still get to the quarterback and get into the backfield. The thing that I think is going to make the difference is exactly that, but on the opposite side. The Steelers' defensive front, the 2 franchise leaders in sacks are both active players on the team right now, Cam Hayward and TJ Watt. Man, I wish Highsmith was in. That would be even harder to deal with, but that's fine. We got solid depth at that position, so it's all good. I think it's going to be a closer game, but I think the Steelers are going to win one of those, 17-14, 20-17 kind of styles.
All right, and then we got the next highlight game. We got the Bengals and the Chargers. I'm still kind of torn over this game. It's like Bengals definitely need a win. Chargers, they're looking pretty good as well. But I'm going to go Cincinnati here. Joe Burrow, I'll pick. He can turn things around in this game because that's definitely if they lose another game, they can forget maybe possible wild card situation. They just gotta play better. I'm not sure. I don't know if T. Higgins is back this week.
He is.
And then, but I don't think Trey Hendrickson is out, isn't he? I think I seen something about he's hurt.
He's questionable.
Okay.
He's expected to play.
Give me the Bengals to bounce back, beating the Chargers this week.
There we go. Yeah, I hope the Bengals beat the Chargers this week, right? So I got Bengals.
How come? Yeah.
Because I need the Broncos to gain some space away from these other guys so we can pop our way into the playoffs, hopefully, roll into the playoffs and do some damage.
Both these teams, especially on the offensive side, are streaky at best. But, I'm going to pick the Bengals for one last hurrah because, like he said, if they lose today, you can put a fork in them. They're done.
Yeah.
The Chargers, they can still afford a loss or two because they have a better record than the Bengals. So I'm going to go with the Bengals. I think they want it more. They have to have it. They need it more.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we can go into the regular games on the slate here. Jags and Lions. I don't think anybody needs to say who's going to win this game because the Jags are awful. The Lions are rolling 8-1. The Lions is going to win this game. They got the Lions by negative 14 points. That's crazy. But yeah,
Isn't it in Jacksonville?
They are in
in Jacksonville.
No, they're in Detroit.
Oh, it's in Detroit. Oh yeah. Makes sense.
No chance.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Any given Sunday, just not this Sunday.
It's facts. Just not this Sunday. We got the Rams and the Patriots. Going Rams here. I don't see the Patriots doing what they did to the Bears last week. 9 sacks. They're not getting 9 sacks on Stafford.
Nah.
Yeah, Rams are starting to win. They need to keep putting some wins together after a slow start. I don't think the Pats pull another upset this week. I'm going Rams.
Same. Rams.
Toilet bowl game. You got the Saints and the Browns. Jameis Winston keeps setting picks. The Saints need a win here. I'm going to go New Orleans.
Well, let me go Browns.
I'm going to go Saints because I like to see the Brown fans cry.
TJ's like, nobody in this North Division. Nope. We got the Colts against the Jets, and Anthony Richardson is back at QB.
I like Anthony Richardson. For his sake, I hope the Colts get the victory. I also hate Aaron Rodgers, so there's that.
Dang.
I don't know. I took the Jets.
Right. I'm going to go Jets as well.
Vikings, Titans. I feel like this is the game right here that's going to sell me. Minnesota. I'm still taking Minnesota though, but it's something the Titans could win this game though. I wouldn't put it past them, but I'm going Minnesota.
Yeah, definitely a potential trap game for the Vikings, but I think they get the job done.
Yeah, and I know Sam Darnold was a little hurt earlier this week, but he's not on the injury report. So yeah, I'm gonna go Vikings. Come out on top.
There's another toss-up I had too. The Raiders and Miami. The Raiders definitely need a win, but like TJ said, maybe not this Sunday. I'm taking Miami here.
Yeah, Miami still has some kind of a shot. The Raiders, they're just a dumpster fire, and I mean they've had the fork in them for probably 2 weeks now. It's Miami's game to lose, in my opinion.
And they got running game too with Miami. A-Chain, they can use somebody else. They still got Tyreek Hill. I mean, still got Tua. I don't see the Raiders beating Miami, so I'm going Miami here.
And with the way the Raiders defense is played, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Miami blows the top off this game by halftime.
Got a division up. You taking who you taking, Sid?
Oh, Miami, of course.
Battle of the NFC North. We got the Bears going up against the Packers, and everybody's like, "Oh well, Tom Brady's talking to Caleb Williams. He's going to have a breakout game." No, they still don't have a line. Still don't have an offensive line to give him back there to even throw the ball. Going Packers here. Love both.
Yeah, Packers are more stable right now, and they're looking more on the up and up. So Packers. Going to be a close game though.
Yeah, I feel it'll be a close game too, but yeah, I got the Packers pulling this out. The Bears, I mean, they just need a little bit more time. They'll get there.
And they said they're going back to basics. They're going to simplify the playbook for Caleb Williams today. So, but I'm still not picking. The Falcons and the Broncos. I said I'm not picking Atlanta no more. We going Denver. Bo Nix.
Dang right.
Every time I pick Atlanta, they sell me every time. So nope. Denver today.
Yep.
Where's the game at?
It's here. Oh, in Denver.
In Denver? Yeah, I'm going it's a coin toss game for me, but I'm going with the Broncos at home then. And realistically, they should have beat the Kansas City Chiefs last week. They had a blocked field goal and a questionable call. Surprise, surprise, go against them late. So I'm going to go with the Broncos because they're on the up and up.
They got too pretty last week. That's all I'm gonna say. Maybe they didn't get too pretty, but I mean, maybe you just sit in the middle of the hash marks, right? Maybe you don't try to come from an angle. Just kick the field. Just keep it simple, right? Kiss. Keep it simple. So, that was it wasn't a hard loss, but it was a hard loss. It was you feel like.
Because I was like, yes, they about to beat the Chiefs, and I was like, oh my god, you got to
almost had them. It's like that.
All I saw was the commercial. Gotta be quick.
Yeah, that commercial with the fishing rod. You ready to get it? But at the same time, though, they shouldn't have even been in that position. They shouldn't have allowed the Chiefs to even go down and get those easy scores in the third quarter for sure. But at the same time, I mean, it was really promising. I think the Broncos really show what they can do, and they show they can hang with anybody. And if that's what it took for it to click in, I will take it. If we see more of this and more, I guess more of them continuing to grow as we move forward, right? Because no one expected them to be where they are, honestly, and they're looking really great. So I got them definitely pulling it off against the Falcons today.
All right, another division matchup in the West and the NFC. You got the Seahawks and the 49ers. No Kittle for the 49ers. I think this is their game here. I still think the 49ers will win, though.
Oof. Well, I think the 49ers are going to win in a close game. But, I think the 6.5 point spread's a little much. I definitely pick Seattle with the points. But, straight up in real life, it's probably going to be the 49ers by 3 or 4.
Man, the 49ers got so many players that are hurt right now. I guess everybody has so many players hurt, but the 49ers have a lot of their key players banged up. I got the Seahawks pulling this one out, man. That running game is looking pretty vicious right now. And DK is just a
train.
Beast. Huh?
The Geno Smith train.
Yeah, Geno Smith doesn't even have to do a whole lot, but he's being efficient. It's a coin toss. I got Seahawks pulling it out. Wait, where is it at?
Looks like it's in Santa Clara.
Oh, I guess it's like a home game for both of them anyway. It's not really much. It's not like that different. But anyway, I got Seahawks pulling it out.
Chiefs and the Bills. I'm taking Josh Allen to beat them regular season. They can't beat them in the playoffs, but Josh Allen can beat them in the regular season, and the Chiefs will go down today, and they will 9 games in a row will end. I'm taking Josh Allen here.
I think the Bills collectively right now are the better team, but until I see something different, I got to go with what's been happening. And I'm going to go with the Chiefs to win, maybe not on their own, but I'm going to go with the Chiefs to pull it out late.
Yeah. I feel like if Amari Cooper plays,
I think he is because Keon Coleman's still out.
Keon Coleman's still out. Kincaid's out.
Oh man, I'm still taking the Bills though.
But yeah, because the Chiefs' offense has been really stagnant. They have not been a firepower offense, right? And the Bills have shown, I mean, Josh Allen's shown he doesn't need nobody to throw it to. He don't need nobody else to run the ball. He will score. He will score the rushing touchdowns, and he will catch the passing touchdowns himself. So, hey, and Josh Allen we trust, right? I got the Bills.
And last but not least, Monday night game, we got the horrible Dallas Cowboys up against the Houston Texans, and I am taking C.J. Stroud to bounce back from this game, and beat the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Battle of Texas.
I in this game, the Cowboys, I think if they try really hard, they might only lose by like 21. So
if they try really hard.
I'm going to go with the Texans, whether it's Rush, whether it's Lance at quarterback, whether it's, Elliott at, predominantly trying to get back to his old days. It just ain't happening. Jerry's world is falling down. Texans.
And Jerry's like, I am Texans. Nah.
Well, not the blinds over that sunlight. My stadium.
I mean, CeeDee Lamb's on the injury report, right? For his back.
But they closed the curtains they put the curtains down for the Tyson fight. They couldn't put the curtains down last week.
Right? Oh man. Hopefully Nico Collins doesn't have to deal with that sunlight. Hopefully he can get around it because Nico Collins is back. Thank God I need those points. So I got Texans all day, man. Him and CJ Stroud just about to click back up and show y'all why he was number one.
All right, guys, there you have it. Another episode of the NFL Pregaming. Hopefully we answered all your questions, but I know I'm sure answered some fantasy questions for y'all. Went over the games. Hopefully if your team's playing today, hopefully they get a win today because my team already played and we won. So it's a red zone day for me. But any last thoughts before we roll out of here?
Ratbirds suck.
What?
Even if they win today, they still suck. I don't care.
Talking about the Ravens.
Oh. Go Broncos.
And Bo Nix we trust.
And Bo Nix, we believe.
Rookie of the year.
ROY. He was rookie of the week. He was rookie of the month. But I guess that's just over here. Guys, you catch me tonight on Fantasy Football Reports talking about those fantasy scores. So we'll be instant reactions to some of these games that are about to go on.
All right, y'all. We see y'all back here next Sunday. Same time, same place, same channel, Sports Wave Network, and also the Shady Sports Network as well. Enjoy y'all evening. The rest of the afternoon. Don't get too drunk. Don't get too crazy. And please don't break the TV if your team don't win. Please don't. You know Black Friday's coming. That's not an excuse to say you need a new TV.
It is a good excuse to get a new TV.
We'll see you guys next week.
Hard